What is going on, everybody? And welcome to Ignite Thursday, where I like to essentially come on every Thursday and try to provide you guys some guidance. I actually have both my cameras aligned so I can keep my line of sight perfect here because I know it's been off on the side for my Instagram folks. So I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to correct this a little bit better. So hopefully this is a little bit better for you guys. But nonetheless, what's up, Tony? How you doing? But tonight, I wanted to talk about what meditation has taught me overall. I know there's a lot of people that have particular questions about meditation, and I know you hear about a lot of the different benefits of meditation, but tonight I kind of wanted to share my experience and how I got into meditation in hopes to try to help people a lot better. But being said, before I get started, I actually wanted to talk about I do have a coaching program now. I know I haven't really advertised that. I do only have 5 slots though. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please hit me up. I do have coaching at discoverignite.com. You can hit me up there. And that way, if you want to do some one-on-one coaching, I can help you essentially refurbish your mindset, right, and allow you to ignite change into your life. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, again, I am offering coaching, limited slots, so just so you are aware. But with that being said, getting out of the way, I wanted to, again, share my experience about meditation. Now, I know I haven't really done a lot of, thanks, brother. I appreciate it, Tony. You always look good too, my man. But when talking about meditation, right, I've done videos on meditation, but ultimately meditation is one of those things I had to really kind of grind through it to be able to start doing it. It's because I, like most average people, right, you come into it, you hear about all the great benefits of it, you kind of expect it to almost work instantaneously. But when in fact, what I've noticed when I started doing it, it was, again, at a low, really low point in my life, but it's something I really needed to be able to control my mind. There was a lot of stresses, a lot of anxiety. I had my first panic attack, which kind of scared me because, again, I have never had any kind of panic attack. And I can recall that particular moment, right? I was in the office. I remember I was getting new into programming. It was my second programming job. And I remember just standing up from my desk, getting ready to leave for the day, and just standing up and just, getting that panic attack to felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like, the walls were closing in. And at that point in my life, I know I had to do something, right? Because the stresses in my life were becoming overwhelming. My father was coming towards the end of his life. I was going through a divorce, in the midst of a divorce. And not only that, but I was also dealing with health problems. I was worried about going on medication. I was worried about if I would be able to be a father, essentially, for my young children, right? So being said, there was just a lot of stress going on. I didn't know how to relieve the stress. For me, before, it was always just go work out, do something that can help exert that energy, to help exert the frustration. And I still do that to this day. I use exercise, physical activity as being one of those things to really help me get out of that ultimately and allow myself to hopefully you guys on Instagram can hear me. I know I'm not wearing my headphones, so if you can't hear me, please let me know. It's kind of hard to tell because it goes in and out, but so yes, I use physical activity to help alleviate a lot of stress. But during the time, I had 2 young kids, and it was hard for me to really go out and exert as much energy as I'm used to doing. I do have long workout sessions, and that does help me alleviate a lot of stresses. But a lot of times you may find you don't have that. So you have a limited amount of time. And I wanted to find something, and I always heard about the benefits of meditation. That being said, I do talk about how meditation can help you essentially put you in the now to be able to make the changes that you want in life. If anybody is having trouble hearing me, please just let me know. But ultimately, being said, going into it, right, like I dedicated the next 6 months. remember, so what, 6 months, I'm going to make this thing happen. And so what I ended up doing was I sat down for the first like 5 minutes. It's extremely hard, but it's something I talk about all the time, about how you should, slowly raise the temperature of the room to accommodate new changes and new routines in your life to make it last, right? Because if you do too dramatic of a change, a lot of times you find that it is hard for it to stick. And so I started, okay, 5 minutes, I'll do it. And I remember sitting down, and it took probably, I want to say it took at least like 2 months for me to be like, okay, well, you know what? This really isn't going to work for me. Like, it is extremely hard, right? Like sitting there for 5 minutes was hard. There was nothing easy about it. All I could think about was the things that were going on in my life during that time. And I remember recalling, like, it felt like such a waste of time, and it was only 5 minutes. I mean, if you think about it, right, the time you can spend 5 minutes a day just unplugging from everything and just kind of letting your brain unwind can make such a dramatic difference. But we don't typically think about that, right? You think about it's 5 minutes, I could be doing something else, right? We come from this society which you got to be constantly moving and grooving essentially to be successful. And being that 5 minutes, and this is just an example, right? Being that 5 minutes, it was extremely hard to work through 5 minutes of meditation. But I was dedicated because I knew what was at stake, right? I didn't want to be stressed out and be put on medication for the rest of my life because I couldn't control my thoughts and my ideas and everything. So I dedicated myself. And in doing so, I started off with an app that helped me essentially guide me doing the meditation. And that helped a lot, right? But it was just a free app. I tried and then expired. And then I was like, well, what do I do to this point? And so I started reading books on it. And reading books actually helped me dive deeper into the benefits of meditation and some other different unique meditations. I've done other ones where you use more of a visual technique when you're going through the meditation. I've done ones where you've kind of gone through your body. They talk about chakras and stuff like that. I didn't really use the chakra part so much. I didn't get too much into that, but I've kind of like gone through my body just to feel the way I feel throughout my body and try to put myself in the moment, right? And that's ultimately what meditation does, is putting you in the now. And the best way to do that is it forces you to focus on your body, right? This is one of the techniques you can use when you're doing meditation, is focus on your body, right? I typically essentially start from my head, go down to my heart, and then go down to my arms, to my fingertips, and then come all the way back up, and then shoot all the way back down to my legs, right? I like visualize that, close my eyes and visualize that movement through my body, make sure how I feel, right? Through every piece of my body, essentially. And then this actually, by doing this, it helps you put you in the moment, right? So you're grounding yourself now, putting yourself in the moment. And then, after reading a couple other different books, I've picked up some different techniques and stuff about going through, and you can change stuff, right? When you go into a meditation session, you can think about visualize the particular bad things you have in your life. What's up, Charles? How you doing, my man? And visualize the bad parts in your life, and then think about that particular moment, right? Like leading up to that moment. And when you lead up to that moment, you can think change, and then essentially adapt whatever new you want to change into that particular thing, right? And when you do this and continue to do this, it puts that particular thought, that idea, to the forefront of your brain. So anytime you have that interaction throughout your day, you realize that you've already kind of predetermined the outcome of that, right? As opposed to something that used to happen, you can change it to something that you want to happen. So you're essentially reprogramming your brain. Instead of having the usual output, you are changing it to something new that you want, right? And so that's the nice thing about doing meditation, is it allows you to reprogram and focus on what needs to be changed. And over the years, right, after doing this quite a bit of time, I've changed my techniques over and over. Now it's kind of just developed into like my think tank, right? This is something that I like to coach and teach, is bringing stuff into your think tank. And also why I teach the breathing technique, because it brings you in, it kind of calms your nerves down and brings you right into the now. It puts you, okay, well, I'm focused in now. I'm not thinking about all the things that have been going on during my day, right? Or I'm not thinking about the future. I'm not thinking about the past. I'm thinking about right now. And that's ultimately what the breathing technique does. It calms your stress levels down. It puts you in the now, right? Because you have to focus on your breath. And so you can't be in the future or in the past because you're supposed to be focusing on the breath. But being said, from that point forward, right, I essentially bring it into a just calmness, right? You sit up straight, you put your hands on your thighs, you close your eyes, you sit on a flat surface, essentially where your feet are flat on the ground, and then you just breathe normally. I don't do any kind of crazy breathing, right? I do the initial breathing to help me get into the now. And then from that point, what I ultimately do is I just sit in stillness and I become the observer. And this is why I talk about becoming observer of your thoughts and ideas and emotions. Because one big thing to understand, right, is we can't control any of those things. I'm not saying you can control the different thoughts, the different ideas, and the different emotions, right? Your body is essentially sending all these signals to your brain. But a lot of times we tend to forget that our brain, right, it's just getting these signals, right? It still has to interpret these things. And ultimately you have to realize that it's encasing the skull, right? It doesn't know any different. You can project what kind of image you want in your brain. This is why visualization is such a big thing, because you can project images that you want to happen in your life, convincing your brain of that particular situation. And so this is why this think tank is essentially really good, because I talk about, learning about perspective. I talk about learning about or experiencing different things in your life, because ultimately what you can do is you can bring that into, what's up, Gavin? You can bring it into your think tank session. And then ultimately, after you deal with your first 10 minutes of just the day passing, right, you're going to have a lot of thoughts and ideas, and you have to get through all the garbage essentially to get to the point to where you are not thinking about the day's events anymore. And that normally takes about 10 to 15 minutes. Now, coming into something like this, it's always good to essentially do 5 minutes at a time, right? Slow progression. Every week, start with 5 minutes, build up, because again, that first 5 minutes is going to be hard. The first week, do 5 minutes. The second week, do 10 minutes, right? And then from that point forward, then what you can ultimately do, hopefully people on Instagram can hear me. Again, I can't tell, but hopefully. And then from that point forward, what you're going to ultimately do is build up, right? You'll build up to the 30 minutes or build up to 40 minutes or even 2 hours, essentially however long you want. What I've ultimately noticed is the longer that you can do this, the better you feel. And it's hard to explain until you actually experience it. And this is why I talk about you got to give stuff enough time to where you can actually experience it. So being said, here, let me throw these on just in case, because I'm not really sure if the people on Instagram can actually hear me or not. I have a new setup, so hopefully, hopefully the people on Instagram can hear me okay. So being said, bringing everything into your think tank, right? Once you build up to, like 15, 20 minutes, you start getting to the point to where, you feel this calmness and this peace, right? You have about a good like 10, 15, even 20 minutes of like calmness and just peace of silence, where you're just observing your thoughts, observing your ideas, your emotions, and essentially separating yourself from that, right? And this is why it's important, because if you can do that, you can make change, right? You can differentiate between what you normally do into what you can actually do to make changes in your life. And so, and doing this with my meditation and building up to this, again, once you make it past that like 35, 40 minute mark, your brain starts coming up with really creative ideas, right? And knowing this and understanding this, if the more perspective and experiences that you experience throughout your day and through your life in the past couple of weeks, right, you may have something that's been bothering you. Maybe there's a particular problem that you cannot seem to solve for, whatever it's worth, right? But going into the session, if you have that thought and idea, and then bring it into your session, it's not saying that you have to think about this thing over and over and over, but when you go in there, your brain starts really doing some really creative thinking and deep thinking, and starts grabbing stuff from your experiences, from your learnings, your teachings that you've been doing, right? And it allows you to start thinking deeply about specific things. And this is why I talk about unplugging from stuff, because it's extremely important. If you can unplug from stuff, sorry, let me fix this here. If you can unplug from stuff, it ultimately allows you to think for yourself, right? And that's what's important, because a lot of people, we're allowing TV, we're allowing a lot of different other social apps and everything to think for us, right? We don't filter any of that stuff out and think for ourselves, or determine if the beliefs, thoughts, and ideas that are being expressed to us are ones that we actually believe in, right? Do we know the pros and the cons of those thoughts and ideas, and then bring them into our think tank and think about it? Well, is this something I really agree with? Well, what are the pros are for this particular thought or idea or belief, right? Or maybe a belief that you once had. And that's one thing I really noticed. A lot of my beliefs have changed over the years because of the fact that I've challenged them, right? And if you can challenge your thoughts, ideas, and beliefs, bring them into your think tank and think, well, is this belief? Is this something that I really agree with at this point in my life, right? If I experience enough now to where I don't particularly agree with this particular thought or belief anymore. But being said, where I think ultimately the think tank helps with that, right? It helps you challenge beliefs, helps you depict new things, helps you solve problems, and it helps you put things in different perspective. Because a lot of times we let our emotions overtake us, but when you start doing meditation and stuff, you can control your emotions better, right? You can recognize them. And that's what's important, is you put yourself in the now. So when you're in the now, you can recognize when that emotion comes up. And then when that emotion comes up, you can separate yourself from that. That's not who I am, right? Like, I'm trying to solve this particular issue in the right manner. But to be able to do that, I need to separate myself from the emotion, from the thoughts, from the ideas, and allow myself to think about this on a playing field. And that's ultimately what meditation can help you do. But not only that, not only does it put things in perspective, but when you are taking the action, right, you come at it in a more now particular situation, right? You're thinking about it more straightforward, as opposed to coming in and being stressed out and worrying about the future, right? About what could possibly not happen, right? And all the issues that can come upon that, right? Because of the fact that you get too caught up in the emotion, right? A lot of times if you may be speaking or whatever, you get caught in, well, people are going to make fun of me and all these other different things. But if you focus on the now, you do much better at that point, right? And so, being said, focusing on the now can be huge, especially if you're trying to make the changes that you want in your life. And again, meditation will help you put that into perspective to where you can control the now, and constantly remind yourself, right? And there's a lot of times where my day is just completely stressful, and I gravitate towards meditation, right? If I feel completely stressed out, and it does help, it does energize you, which is quite interesting, because a lot of times I've gone into meditation and I've been completely worn out, right? Like, maybe I've worked out, maybe it was just a long day, whatever the case is. There's a lot of stress coming into it, right? It de-stresses me and it re-energizes me, right? Like, it's not like I ate anything going into the meditation. You actually find that if you do any kind of fasting, it actually helps with the meditation, which is actually quite interesting. But in doing that, ultimately, this helps, right? It helps re-energize you. And you realize that the amount of energy that you have, especially when you start getting to the 40-minute mark, an hour mark. And I know you're saying, man, I can't even do 5 minutes. How am I supposed to do 40? Believe me, you'll get to a point, if you are consistent with it, you'll get to a point to where you find your peace, right? You find your inner peace, in your balance, right? And in focusing on that and meditating on that, it helps you, allow you to be able to do that. And ultimately, I've always found meditation to be great, right? Like I dedicated myself to those 6 months, and I've been doing it ever since then. Now, there have been a couple times where I've like not done it. I think I've gone like a month or two not doing it, and I've noticed that there is a big difference. This is something I talk about. If you're not consistently doing something, you start realizing the difference. And I started realizing that I would always be down on myself. I wouldn't be able to focus as much, because we have to remember that I talk about always being on autopilot. And if you are doing a lot of meditation, you realize that you're not stuck in the autopilot, right? Because you cue yourself up for, okay, am I in the now? And so by helping and practicing and doing meditations all the time, you're aware of the fact if you're in the now, right? And realize, okay, well, I'm starting to just autopilot here. I need to start focusing on, okay, well, I need to make sure, if you're trying to manage your time, right? Okay, well, I need to block this time out and execute on this thing, right? And meditation helps with all these different things. It helps you control your mind. So your mind just isn't drifting, right? And you find like maybe you're on social media a lot and stuff like that, right? It helps cue that up. Okay, well, I'm in the now. What am I doing right now? How can I fix this right now, right? And so that's what I found has really helped. Is again really energized me, and it really helped me. Just being in the now is just something that is completely different, right? Like you may say, "Yeah, I'm in the now." I get that, but it is different, right? If you could be in the now, understand how people are, right? It helps with interaction with other people, personal, professionally. Right. And ultimately understand that if you are in the now, you can correct anything, right? If you are trying to build confidence, you want your chin up, you want to smile, you want to look at somebody in the eye, and to be able to do all these things, you need to be focusing on the now. This is what self-awareness is, right? And we all know, okay, well, self-awareness, I know what that is, right? Like maybe my stomach hurts, that's self-awareness kind of thing. It is to a degree, right? But you have to understand, like, are you constantly in the now to be aware of how your body is, aware of what you're speaking right now? I know a lot of times we have that other voice in our head that essentially will give us a lot of negative thoughts and ideas, right? And so to be able to tune that out, again, the meditation helps separate that, right? And realize that, again, this is not my emotion. This is not who I am, right? It's just part of the human experience, essentially, that I am observing. And that's ultimately what helps you become the observer of your life and allow you to make the changes that you want, is to separate that. And I know a lot of times that doesn't seem like the funnest of things, and it may not seem like something that you can do, but I highly advise that it is a tool. It doesn't matter what point you are in your life. You may be at a low point in your life or a high point in your life. It plays an extremely big role in your life. Even at my high times of my life, I still continue to do meditation because it helps me a lot. And a lot of times I can tell in the days that I haven't done it, right? I try to keep a consistent schedule as much as possible. Now, there are a lot of things that happen in my life, everybody's life, right? Stuff happens, but if you dedicate this time to yourself, it is well worth the weight in gold, and it will allow you to, again, keep ourselves calm, right? Because ultimately a lot of people are too eager to let me just go buy something and then fix it instantaneously, when in fact that doesn't help. You have to put in the work, right? You got to put in the reps to help you build this out, to ultimately become the observer of your life, right? And be able to make the changes that you want, ignite the changes that you want in your life. And to be able to do that, meditation is a big tool to help you do that. So that's pretty much what I had today. Again, my experience with meditation has been great. I still consistently do it. I've changed it up, especially over the past couple of months, right? I've gone more into the deep think tank stuff. I've also done some other like shorter 15-minute ones that are more visualization. I know that helps people as opposed to just not thinking about anything, because that can be hard. Again, there are a lot of different flavors of meditation. You got to find what fits for you. That's ultimately what matters. This is what helps fit my personality and allowed me to go deeper inside, right? Because to be able to become who I've become, I've had to do a lot of deep work. Now, if you would have seen me again, 15, 20 years ago, I'm not exactly the same person, right? I don't have the energy, right? I wasn't this energetic, and this comes from deep work and understanding, controlling, right? And not being afraid of things, because you're focused in on the now as opposed to worrying about the outcome of something that hasn't even happened yet. And again, meditation helps with all this stuff. It helps you focus on the now and get you able to make the changes that you want. Right? Because a lot of times we are fearful, well, if I deviate from my normal routine, I'm not going to like the outcome. Something bad will happen is typically what you're thinking. But if you're just focusing on the now and saying, okay, well, I'm not thinking about the future, not thinking about all the perhaps failures I had in the past, but right now I know this is a choice I got to make. And since I'm in the now, I'll just make that choice now, execute on it. Without even thinking, right? This is why I talk about don't think and just execute. Meditation helps with all that stuff. And again, it may not seem like you can. I was in your shoes. I know exactly how it feels. It took me a long time, but if you dedicate yourself to doing it, it's like anything, like in the gym. You can't expect to work out for a month or 2 months and expect to be, Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's just not going to happen. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the time. You can build this out. You can correct the things that you want in your life, live a happier life, calm yourself down, with just the ease of meditation, right? Like I said, I gravitate towards doing it because it calms me down, it energizes me, and allows me to refocus on the day's events that I need to take care of and those things that I want to take care of. So, being said, I know there's a couple people that popped in and out. It doesn't look like there's anybody else out there. If anybody has any questions, in case I'm not seeing you on here, go ahead and leave a message. Hopefully everybody on Instagram could hear me. I popped in the earphones, so hopefully people can hear me before I came in. I don't know if that's why they left, because they couldn't hear me. Nonetheless, I appreciate you guys' time. I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Remember, I do offer coaching. I do have a course if you guys are interested in that stuff. Nonetheless, I appreciate your time. Remember to ignite the change that you want in your life. There are tools or techniques. Everything you need is within you. It is. I've proven it to myself. I'm proving it to you. I've come from a lot of different experiences in my life. I've tried a lot of different things. I thought, buying a supplement and all these different things would help me. They don't. It's just putting in the work. You put in the work, you will get there. And I'm here to guide you, to help you. That's why I started Discover Ignite. That's why I'm doing this, is to help you ignite the change that you want in your life. If it's small, big, whatever the case is, just remember that it is all possible. Opportunity is there. You just got to be tuned into it. All right, guys, I hope you guys are doing great. And until next time, I will see you guys later.